Hey everyone, on today's episode, we've left Perth, we've come out here into the country on this beautiful day. We've come out to see Peter about his Ford collection, and he's got the best of the old school and the new school, so we can't wait to have a look at the other cars that he's got as well as these ones.
Now, Peter, can you tell us a bit about this story, mate? And thanks for talking to us about your collection.
Yeah, sure. I'd love to tell you a bit about it. So this one I bought from my uncle who purchased the car in '74 brand new. So it hasn't done a lot of work. It's done about 56,000 mile original, except for it's had a respray. The paint just got away a little bit too far on it.
Okay.
But so yeah, it's pretty much totally original as we look at it right now. Original hubcaps, original wheels, original engine, original transmission,
Yep.
pretty much exactly as it came from the factory. So it was bought in the mid-north of South Australia from the Ford dealer, Farley Ford, in Quorn, South Australia, in the Flinders Ranges.
Okay.
My uncle was a businessman. He sat it in the shed basically and used it to drive to Adelaide every now and again, and that was about it. That was about all it did. So I purchased off him in '87. I've had the car since '87. It's followed me around and done what it's done. And yeah, about 3-4 years ago, I got Frank at Frank's Plastic Garage to give it a respray for us and tied it up a little bit.
It looks perfect, mate.
It does,
really
yeah,
does.
it's really nice. It's a very proud car to own. There's
Definitely.
still not a lot of them around. I mean, there's, I think, 1,234 manufactured to start with. So they're not overly common, and of course there's even less around today, and very few in original conditions.
Definitely, like, I haven't seen any Landau's out there with the original hubcaps still on them.
Yeah, they look great with a big set of tyres that fill out the mud guards and everything else, and you know, you can put some fantastic tyres and rims on them, but yeah, I think exactly right, just with the original tyres and rims it does something for it.
Yeah,
So,
perfect.
still got the original Farley Ford stickers on the back window and everything from when it was pre-delivered. In actual fact, a funny story, my mother's brother bought the car brand new, as I said. My father's brother pre-delivered the car for him at the garage. He was a Ford mechanic. Quite a family attachment to the car.
Yeah,
but yeah,
definitely. And now, so you're technically the second owner of the car. Now, you were telling me before that this has done, what, only 50,000 Ks or something like that?
56,000 mile.
Miles, yep.
The speedo's in miles, yeah.
Wow, like that is unbelievable that a car like this at this age has only done that many.
It's a rare opportunity to own something so original, and the Landaus tell quite a story. I think they're the two-door sports version of the luxury car. They weren't that successful. I mean, they didn't sell that many or build that many of them. They were actually the first. They were actually the first car produced with four-wheel disc brake.
Yep.
So the LTD and the Landau both had the four-wheel disc brakes. So they were the first Australian car produced four-wheel disc. The GT 351 in them, which is the GT spec.
Yep.
So they go very well. As my uncle used to say, they go past anything except a fuel station.
Yep.
But no, hey, you know, they're a fantastic car. They're a beautiful car for the era.
Definitely looks like everything on this is absolutely perfection. Like even the roof. Like sometimes you see the roof, it's all bubbled or it's
actually,
done.
This roof has been replaced. I had to get the roof redone when we resprayed it. Exactly as say the original roof had bubbled and. Well, only the vinyl, not the roof itself, of course. But yeah, so it was a little bit torn and shabby. So there's actually a guy in Melbourne, I believe he's based, an older guy who replaces the roofs on these. That's all he's done. He bought a roll of the material, different colours of the material, roll of each colour back in the 80s, I believe, and started redoing these roofs back then because Ford did have a problem with the vinyl roofs.
Yep.
So he has done them, and when I was talking to him, got him to do this one, he had enough material left for 2 more roofs, and that would be all in this colour.
Wow,
so he still had
okay.
some of the white and some of the other colours, but
Yeah.
that would be it in this colour of all the material that he had. So from here on in, you'll have to go to a different material or do something a little bit different. But
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, it's. I mean, it's not getting easier to find the parts or restore these things,
That's
and
for sure.
particularly for the Landau. You know, things like the front blinkers, the lenses in the front mudguard are almost impossible to get now.
Yeah, okay.
No one remakes them. There's no
Yeah.
aftermarket versions. So all that's available, and of course over the years they've all been hit by a pebble or a stone or
Yeah.
something, and they're just impossible to get. So yeah, being a limited model is great, but it also provides its challenges as well. So
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
So how did you actually get into this car collection, and how did you get into cars yourself? Because obviously, as we're going to see, you've got about 6 cars here.
yeah,
Now, so how did you start off?
well, I don't know. I really don't. I guess, as I mentioned already, my uncle was a mechanic, so I spent a lot of my childhood working with him and messing around with cars and doing different things. So I guess realistically that probably sparked my interest in cars, and then yeah, I guess very early on I always wanted this car. I nagged my uncle for years to sell it to me, and
Yep.
I eventually did end up with it, and it probably started from there.
Yep.
And then, you know, that led on to, I always wanted a 71 to 73 Mustang. That shape was always appealed to me, and so yeah, I eventually did end up with one, as we'll talk about in a minute. But yeah, I guess the interest just grew from there, really.
Perfect.
I always just had that attraction. So
Yeah.
and
lovely.
it doesn't really, I mean, I love my Fords, obviously, but I'm not a guy that I'll appreciate any muscle car, you know.
Yep.
Doesn't matter in the brand so much or whatever it is. I appreciate the people's passion for their cars,
Yes.
what they put into them, and there's not a bad one out there, you know.
Yeah,
It's just
perfect. Perfect.
Some are better than others.
Now, you mentioned this has got a 351 in it.
That's right.
So what have we got as far as gearbox and diff and everything else in this?
Okay, it's still the original transmission in this, so they came out with the FMX tranny.
Yep, perfect.
Original 9-inch diff. GT spec, I mean the Landaus were a GT spec, so the 351 engine. They only had 2 options actually, the Landaus, because pretty much for the day they had everything that was thrown at them. So
Yeah.
the only options I believe were cassette radio or just standard radio,
Okay.
and leather seat or standard seat.
Yep.
So this one came with the cassette, didn't have the leather seats.
Yep.
But yeah, so that was the only 2 options that were available back in the day.
So in the interior side of things, it's all factory interior still? Hasn't
Totally.
been redone or anything?
Totally original.
Wow, okay.
I'm sure you'll get some shots and everything of it, but yeah, it's in fact, when my uncle bought it, the first year he owned it, my grandparents gave him a set of seat covers for the car, lamb's wool seat covers.
Nice.
I've still got those seat covers inside. They only came off it a couple of years ago, but underneath the seats are just immaculate. They're really like brand new.
Yeah,
And,
he took really good care of
Yeah.
it until he gave it to you.
well, like I said, it sat in a shed all its life and it really
Yeah.
didn't do anything. So, still got the original spare tyre.
Wow.
May not want to use it.
No,
but it's
no,
still with
definitely
the
not.
car,
But so you used to love cruising in these kind of cars.
yeah, of course.
And
yeah.
unfortunately now you can't. So tell me what's going on with you right now.
Yeah, I was diagnosed with MS. About 2009, I was officially diagnosed. Around 2007, we were living in Canada, and we suspected it may be happening. And yeah, 2009, I was officially diagnosed with MS. And from that point on, it's been a slow downhill run
Yeah.
to this point where I'm in the wheelchair now. So yeah, of course, I can't get in the cars and drive them around anymore, or do what I want to do with them, but still have them, we still enjoy them, and the Landau will stay with me forever, and
Yep.
kids will take it over, I'm sure.
Oh,
Same as the Shelby we'll talk about later.
yeah.
But the other cars, at some point in time, I probably need to look at moving on and asking realistically what we do with those cars, it just becomes hard work for my wife looking after them as well.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Up until probably 12 months ago, 18 months ago, I could still, particularly with the help of my son, get in and out. But
Yep.
yeah, it's just too hard now.
Okay, understand that.
We were very lucky to have possession and enjoy them as we did and have. My son's a bit of a collector already. He's got a couple of, dare I say, Holdens.
Yep, fair enough.
I didn't get it all right with him, but
We'll have to go visit him as well.
like I was saying, the important part is that he enjoys the passion as well, and
Yeah, perfect.
continues to build cars and enjoy them as well. So
What I think we'll do is we'll move on to the next one that's right next to us.
yeah, for sure.
I like Mustangs, but I especially love Super Snakes. This thing is beautiful, and this is even more special because you've had this signed by a whole range of people.
Yeah.
So tell us about this car.
Yeah, so as I just mentioned before, we were living in Canada for a little while, and I guess we were in Canada when the first GT 500s were released in 2007. And at that time, of course, no different to Australia, the US and Canada, or North America, went crazy for the new GT 500s, and it was impossible to get one. I mean, people were selling orders for Shelbys at that point in time. They were bringing something like $40,000-$50,000 over the MSRPs, or the list price of the Shelbys.
Yep.
And you know, people would buy an order off someone else for what they'd paid $42,000 for at the time, US dollars. People were paying $140,000 for the
Wow,
Shelby,
yeah.
just to try and get in line. They were looking at 12-month wait for the cars and everything else. So yeah, at that point, we probably didn't even dream of owning one. But certainly we're very interested. We looked around, we looked at the car yards and looked at the cars themselves. And eventually, I guess one of the car manufacturers came to us and said, look, they had this Shelby, they wanted to get rid of it quick time, and I think it was around December 2007, we got the offer for this car.
Yep.
Brand new from the Ford dealer in Toronto. And so it's actually a Canadian car, not an American car, which makes a little difference because the speedo's in metric and a couple of little things like that. But so yeah, we took up the offer to purchase the car, brought it home with us in 2009, had it converted to right-hand drive. So we got 2 years in North America to enjoy the car and drive it around. At least in the summer anyway. There's not too much driving in Canada because of the snow in the winter.
Yep.
The cars are pretty much just locked up for the season, but yeah, no, we got to enjoy it in the summer, which was really nice. It was
Perfect.
really good. Yeah.
Perfect. So on this, I know that you've got Carroll Shelby's signature in the dash.
Yep.
But you also have the signature in the engine bays of the two builders that actually built the engine.
That's right.
And Henry Ford.
That's right.
The third.
Henry Ford III.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So we joined Team Shelby, which is a fairly big operation in North America, based out of obviously the Shelby factory. Team Shelby has chapters all over the North America. We were in the chapter in Toronto, or Eastern Canada chapter. They arranged a visit to the factory in Michigan to go and have a look at the Mustangs being made. So we took the car down there. I think from memory, I think there was 100 Team Shelby members there that met at the factory. So we had a look at the engine factory, and where they hand build the engines. Two guys hand build each of the engine, which is a lot of engines when you think about they're producing somewhere around 9 to 11,000 GT 500s a year. That's 9 to 11,000 engines that are hand built a year. Two guy teams build each of the engines. Each engine has a plaque on it with those two guys. And we actually were lucky enough to meet the two guys that built this particular engine. They signed the car for us while we were there, and we actually took them for a ride in the car. One of the guys had never been in an operating GT500, so it was fantastic for him to actually go for a ride in the car of the engine that he'd built. You know, he was pretty
definitely
pleased. So great opportunity all round, you know, for both the Team Shelby members and also the actual factory workers. And then that night we had a dinner at the Ford Museum in Detroit, and Henry Ford III was the guest invite that night. So not many people realise, but Henry Ford III is actually an Australian. He was born in Melbourne at the time that Edsel Ford, his father, was managing Ford Australia.
Yep.
So of course he heard that there were some Australians at the meeting and he wanted to come and meet us.
Yep.
So he came and meet us and talked with us for a little while over dinner. As it worked out, he came outside and signed our car later that night as he was leaving. We had to keep it a little bit quiet that he was signing the car because he didn't want to come out and sign 100 cars, as you could imagine. But yeah, he graciously come out and signed our car, and we have that signature, and yeah, it makes it a pretty special car in my eyes anyway. So
yeah, wow.
yeah,
And this thing is an absolute beast. I love the stance of it, how it's got it. Like if I was going to own a modern Mustang, this was it.
yeah, I think, you know, the 2005 to 2009 shape was very retro at the time. If we cast our minds back to when these were released, people went crazy because it was that retro look. Ford incorporated that very well into this model of car. So yeah, look, I think it's a bit of the old Die Hard in all of us, and everyone loved that shape and wanted to go back in time and own this model of car. And then of course you put the ability of the GT500s in conjunction with that, then you know it's a pretty special little package.
And the blue on this just pops.
Yeah, it does.
Especially with the silver.
With the tungsten stripes, it really is. I think from memory it's 119 of the blue with the tungsten stripes that were made. So it's actually a fairly rare car, if you like, of the Shelbys, but it's been lowered, so the stance is really nice. The wheels feel the wheel wells. I've actually put 20-inch rims on this car, so these standard rims, I've still got them obviously with the car, but the Shelby Razor rims went with this package that looked really, really nice. In fact, the Shelby Razor rims were part of the 40th anniversary package that Shelby put out, so I managed to get a set of those.
Yeah, and it just looks sensational.
Yeah,
and I like that fastback kind of Mustang, rather than the sedan type Mustangs. I love the fastbacks, and this thing is just superb, absolutely superb.
One of the things you find living in North America, there's so much available aftermarket to do with these cars, and you know I fitted quite a bit of aftermarket bits and pieces to the car. All bling, if you like, nothing that can't be replaced and put back to original. But yeah, there's really so much available. You know, unlike Australia, where we get access to limited amounts of things to do with your car in North America, and you know, we used to always say power of population, but there is just so much available to do. You know, the sky's your limit.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So in this thing here, we've got the 5.4 litre engine.
5.4 litre supercharged, Eaton supercharger, 500 horsepower out of the factory.
Nice.
This thing, you could buy a package basically for, I think it was $990. The package was for a chip, spark plugs, cold air intake, and that boosted to 650 horsepower.
Wow.
So for 900 or $1,000 you're going for another 150 horsepower, which is, yeah, it makes it pretty nice.
Oh, definitely.
Pretty nice.
And is it manual, auto? Or
Manual,
manual?
6-speed manual. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yep, they're all standard with this. In fact, all of the GT500s released were manuals. So auto wasn't an option.
Okay.
So
nice.
They were all 6-speed manual. 8.8-inch rear diff, as I say, the 5.4 litre 4-valve engine with, I think it's a 2.2 litre Eaton supercharger.
So when you came back over, you brought this back with you to Australia?
Yeah, we bought it back with Australia. We actually bought 2 Mustangs back. I also bought in fact, just before I bought this car, I bought a California Special convertible, black. So we bought the 2 cars back, had them converted. That was done by Mustang Motorsport in Melbourne. Craig Dean over there, actually I've got to say, did a fantastic job of doing the conversions. And you know, at the time, he did a lot of the conversions, no doubt about it. I believe now he's also the Shelby dealer here in Australia now as well. So.
Okay, great. All right, well, I reckon we should have a look at the old school Mustang now.
We can do that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's go check it out.
Yeah, let's do that.